How are you?
Yeah, all good, thanks.
Yeah.
Nice to see you again. It's been a while.
Yes, it has. Um, Gosh, when was it? It was when you gave all that wonderful description of how on earth all the racing stones and
All
pebble
right, yeah. Trying to
things
explain.
worked, wasn't
Yeah.
it? That was a few years ago. Robin,
Hello.
meet Mike.
Oh,
Mike,
hello, you're right.
Robin.
Nice
Hi.
to meet you.
You too?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Mike and I were just saying the last time we met, he gave brilliant and very succinct instructions as to how the whole racing stones, pebbles, whatever worked.
Yeah.
That when they first came out and everyone was completely thrown into confusion.
Yeah, it was a challenging first year trying to get the message out, and then once the penny dropped, the entries soon took off. So yeah.
But you have a whole series of different races now as well, don't you?
Yeah, so I'm
Um,
focusing on sky running amongst other things. I'm studying full time again, but doing
yes, I
other.
saw that. Engineering of some sort.
Yeah, design engineering. So it's a mix of creativity and technical stuff. Yeah, it keeps me busy.
I bet. Well, I bet it all keeps you busy.
Yeah, possibly a
Yes.
little bit too busy at the moment, but I've got 2 weeks off at the end of the month, so that'll be nice.
So what's up next or first?
Race wise,
Yeah.
I well, we've got the I'll talk about this in a bit, but we've got the Skyrun Academy. That's for under 23 runners, early May. And then the first race of the Skyrunner UK series is Charlie's event in the Langdale Valley
Mm.
at Scafell Sky Race and the new Scafell Sky Ultra. And then we move on to my race in Snowdonia, Skyrunner Erie, and then back to Lake District, over to Ireland, and then finishing with my Mourne Mountains event. That's part of the Skyrunner World Series as well. So yeah, plenty to keep me busy with sky running. Yeah.
So do you have a connection to Ireland?
No, not particularly. So Charlie Sproson handed over the opportunity to me to take over Skyrunning UK, January last year it was, and bit his hand off. That was cool. And then I thought, well, be good to have some more races in the series. So I got in touch with the old organisers of the Mourne Skyline. They stopped doing it after the 2021 edition for various reasons. And yeah, managed to get that going again. So yeah, the Seven Sisters, that's in the Republic of Ireland. I went to that event for the first time last September, and yeah, stunning there. Really rugged, big, wild mountains, and yeah, it's well worth the effort to
Yeah.
get over there.
Do you sort of race direct them as well, or are you just managing them from a level up, so to speak?
A bit of both. So I'm the race director for two of the events. One is Snowdonia, Skyrun Erie, and Skyrun the Mourns. And then at a series level, I manage Skyrunning UK, and part of that is managing the Skyrunner UK and Ireland series and overseeing that really with the other race director, so Charlie, with his two events in the lakes.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm eyeing up potential new events for the future to join the series as well, which I'd manage myself. So,
Okay. I'm going to let Robin get a word in edgeways in just a second, but
cool.
just one more. Scotland.
Yeah, it's challenging one. So obviously the Skyline Scotland was basically, well, if I go back to the founding years of Skyrunning UK, the Glencoe Skyline, if I'm correct, it was Lake Sky Ultra, the Glencoe Skyline, and the V3K event in Snowdonia, I think, were the first under the direction of Ian Corliss. He was the first person to sort of think, well, why can't we do skyrunning in the UK? So but yeah, things have changed with Skyline Scotland over the years.
Mm.
Looks like one of their races is what I'd call a pure sky running event. The new Ben Nevis Skyline looks great, but sadly they've moved the date and it clashes with Seven Sisters, so I have to sort of
Mm.
stay with supporting them. But yeah, I don't know what their I think it's going to be it's a Golden Trail World Series event, the Ben Nevis Skyline, I believe, this year.
Okay.
But I would really like to see a separate Scottish event in the calendar of some sort.
Mm,
Possibly the Arran Skyline might make a return. I did have a little look at the Arachor Alps area to see if something over the Cobbler
yeah.
could work. But yeah, it's challenging because there's some awesome terrain in Scotland, but it's just a long way to get to, so it
Mm,
becomes quite risky for getting the event entries needed to, not lose money because then the event's not viable. So yeah, it's
yeah.
a shame. It's a shame they're not featured this year, but I'm hoping that's not going to be the case moving forward.
How many entries do you need to sort of balance the books on one of these races?
Good question. It varies from event to event, and
Yeah.
I could only speak for myself, but I'd be getting a little bit. It depends on various factors as well. Like if you go to a certain venue and they ask for, yeah, it depends on fees to hire a venue and stuff, but and how you operate the event. I spend quite a lot of money on mountain safety teams and stuff, so they're fixed costs that aren't going to change no matter how many entries I get. So, yeah, in the early days, I'd needed like the very first Snowdon Skyline, as it was called. I think it only broke even, or maybe it made a small loss, and that only had 120 entries, I think. But yeah, but there's certain as the event grows, then you have to hire more toilets and other costs start to come in, so your break even can shift again a little bit. So yeah, it's really you need to be confident that you can get 200 really. Yeah, I'd say.
Is
Okay, yeah.
there a sort of a maximum amount you can have given the terrain?
Depends on the area you're hosting in, and the lay of the land in terms of permissions and stuff. I can only speak of Snowdonia and the Moorlands, and for the Moorlands, the National Trust are a bit more hot on ecological impact and stuff. So they want to see, how what things like erosion and what plans you've got in place to mitigate against that. I mean, the footfall of 200 or 300 runners isn't really going to wipe away the landscape in one day, but other places it's a bit more lax. Like Snowdonia, there's only certain pockets like the Ogwen Valley where there's rare uh, types of lichen and stuff that they're really and the land underfoot is a bit more sensitive to footfall. I don't know how it works in Scotland. I think the Lake District, from what I've spoken to with Charlie, is similar to Snowdonia. You have certain areas that might be privately owned where things are a little bit more stringent, but yeah, I think we do okay in the UK. It's not like in America where some of the permits there, it's like you only allow 300 people or whatever. And I think that's one of the reasons why Western states are so small, for example. So it's interesting and it changes from area to area. I know the Peak District is a lot of that's private farmland, and a lot of small classic fell races are struggling with permissions and stuff. Because it just takes one person to change their opinion, and then the whole, it's a
Yes.
bit of a shame.
It's a delicate eco balance of its own.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Edale Skyline has 500 entries as a limit, but that blows my mind that they're even allowed that many.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
considering.
that's quite big for a fell race. I mean, sometimes it's just the organizer. Like I said, once events start to grow, they become more complex, and you have to think about water, feed stations, toilet hire, and this, that, and the other. And yeah, based on past experience, like 500 to 800 is kind of a sweet spot where things are going to be profitable, but you don't have to. It's more manageable. Once you get past 1,000, that's like UTS, it starts to become something very different. And then all these other costs come in, and then the council are on you with safety plans and stuff. And you have to, yeah, start taking things very seriously then. So,
If we go back to the beginning, just for me, for when you started UTS, why did you want to start it, and what were your hopes sort of for the first year? I think that's it, yeah.
Yeah, so going back a couple of years before that, I was running and racing myself at a fairly high domestic level, and I travelled quite a lot. Had a bit of a career break, which ended up being nearly a decade long in the event space. But here I am back doing a master's in design engineering at long last. Yeah, was racing all these events here, there, and everywhere. Gran Canaria, Tarawera down in New Zealand and stuff, and these were all part of the Ultra Trail World Tour at the time. And I just had, I felt like the UK, I felt like there was an opportunity, maybe not an opportunity, but I just questioned why isn't there a UK round on the Ultra Trail World Tour? Because we have big events like Lakeland 100, and when I go to the Alps and I meet people there, they don't really know much about the UK scene for that kind of reason. So I wanted to ask the question: is there an event that can bridge that gap? And it was when I started training in Snowdonia a lot more throughout 2015, training for UTMB, and then 16. I realised, wow, there's some great terrain here. You know, what if you took the blueprint of something like Lakeland 50-100 and took it to a more mountainous region, had a marked course, and yeah, could it be something that could be on the Ultra Trail World Tour in a few years? So that was the initial plan with UTS. Yeah, so it was part of the Ultra Trail World Tour 2021, and then that became the UTMB World Series. So yeah, that was my main motive with that. Just
So
to
did you pitch it to them, having set it up? Do you then say, look, come and look at this race. What do you think?
for the Ultra Trail World Tour, there was criteria. I think it had to have 500 entries at least, and had to have been in existence for 2 years. So those were the two boxes to tick, and then there was a fee to pay. So I had the first conversations with them like quite early on in the project, really throughout 2019. I was like, I've just done the second event, I'm keen to, it looks like things are on track for 500 for 2020. And then, yeah, we all know what happened there with COVID, but eventually, yeah, that was finally achieved in 2021. And yeah.
That's interesting. So it was always in your sights then. It was like the main goal for the race was to get it publicized to the rest of Europe at the very least, to try and advertise some of the best trails in the UK.
Yeah, it wasn't all just out of the goodness of my own heart. I did want to grow the event to 1,500 or more, something on a scale with Lakeland 100, and that would replace my job as a design engineer, which had come from. So, but yeah, I've seen that at the time that just seemed like the premier global series for ultra and trail running, and yeah, it was nice in that first year. You did feel like you were part of quite an elite bunch with the race directors from Cape Town and Gran Canaria, all the same. You were part, and yeah, it had an effect on entries for sure that year.
This is all super interesting to me because I race direct a small 5 mile road race and a small 5.5 mile fell race.
Cool.
And like the more that I see them get more popular, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I could I could plot a route for a longer race. Like maybe I could do an ultra because I just know the trails around this area so well. I could absolutely pick a fantastic route that I know that people would love. So is that what you wanted to do? Was the first thing you did just sort of plan a route and then set about permissions?
Yeah, it's a great story. Looking back, I would definitely recommend not taking the approach I did with the top down, doing a 100-mile mountainous marked course event first. Threw myself in at the deep end a bit, and I probably, someone told me actually, why don't you start with a trail marathon and go from there, play it safe. But yeah. So the routes, yeah, I mentioned I was training a lot in Snowdonia throughout 2016, I think it was, and I was recceing legs of the Paddy Buckley round throughout 2015, I think, and yeah, I love those days. I was living in Chester at the time, so it's 90 minutes. You can go and do a day out there. And then, yeah, I just started to piece together trails. A lot of time spent in memory map, poring over routes and trying to join the dots, and then yeah, loading it into something else to get the elevation gain, and yeah, just piecing that puzzle together. So the very first, well, the first two editions of the 100 miler, it was a figure of eight loop, so it was two 50-mile loops, and the reason in there was to try and keep the event a bit more contained within northern Snowdonia, and yeah, rather than have like what Lakeland 100 do, where it's one massive loop and then they have to bus people out to the start. So I was trying to think, how can I do this, with limited experience for the first edition.
Logistically, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Yeah, you don't want to have to spread people too far. And obviously the roads around Snowdonia are quite limited themselves as well. So
They're actually pretty good. So that was another thing that made me think about there's actually some feasibility here with trying to create more of a European style event where there's aid station access and the kind of things that you find at these UTMB events. The Lake District, for example, the northwestern fells, they're really difficult to get to and quite cut off. But if you look at northern Snowdonia, there's quite good road access between those big valleys. So, and then the transport links, from more populous areas are pretty good. So, yeah, with hindsight, quite a few little stars kind of aligned for UTS to eventually take off, but it was a hard ball to get rolling. Yeah.
So you marked it all out. So did you, I imagine if I'm thinking about if I'm doing it myself, like you've plotted a route, you've tried to keep it contained, then you've got to source a number of volunteers. I imagine volunteers at least the first couple of times. How did you manage to do that and how many did you need?
The first one, I think we had about 70, and then similar for the second. Yeah, just a lot of hustling and asking around, really. A lot of people from the Northwest helped out, thankfully. But yeah, getting volunteers is always a bit of a struggle. So yeah, big thanks to the people who were there on the first and second year events, pulling some very, very long shifts. With hindsight, it was all a bit, I don't know. I mean, I was managing the volunteers myself, falling asleep in my friend's car at like 3 a.m. on Sunday morning. It was quite tough, but yeah, a bit of an adventure.
I can only imagine you were praying for the weather to be good as well, just to bring the accident.
Yeah. The first year it was pretty bad in the first night. We had a first mountain rescue call out, which wasn't a very nice experience. But then the second year the weather was perfect. But yeah, can be hit and miss at any time of year in Snowdonia. But yeah.
So do you feel now you've got all that experience under your belt, and now you're going forward with your new sort of series of events? You've got your Skyrun. I still can't pronounce it properly. Iriri.
I'm a lot more comfortable, yeah, now. I think, yeah, I mean, Skyrunner Riri's grown in complexity now that we've added an ultra and stuff, but it's still not a patch on the complexity of something with 12 aid stations spanning all that distance and all those moving parts that's going through 2 nights. It's yeah, those were some challenging experiences looking back. Now, yeah, I'm just in a good place with my confidence and my abilities, and I've learned a lot over the years. I know what needs to be done by when, and who else can do what, and what things I can delegate to other people, that kind of thing. So
you've got a good team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me about the races. You've got the 14 peaks. Is that new then?
Yeah, so that was the first edition last year. So that goes over the Welsh 3,000-foot route, more or less, from the north to the south. So that's a new edition, and that falls in under the new Sky Ultra series. So I can talk about that in a little bit separately, but that's new for last year. And we added a nice, easy 10-mile race called the Fairy Trail. And that's at the other end of the spectrum. So those sit alongside the Snowdon Sky Race and the Copper Sky Trail. But looks like we're going to have the most entries in the Ultra again this year. I mean, it's kind of shouldn't come as a surprise, really. I think a lot of people want to race that iconic route as part of a race. So, yeah, that's really helped the event. Just reach out to more people and show them that skyrunning's a thing in the ultra category as well. You can come and have a good 12, 14, 16-hour day out as well and do some scrambling in between. Yeah.
Do you think how some people turn their backs on UTMB, do you think that boosts the popularity of these other races, like the other Snowdonia-based races?
I couldn't say, to be honest. I'm a bit down on entries compared to where I was last year at this time for Skyrunner Erie. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the other race organisers in Snowdonia are doing, but
a grade 1 scramble. What makes a grade 1 scramble? Do you need any climbing experience for that, or is it just to scare people?
Yeah, good question. I can probably not give the best description of this, but the way I see it is there's 3 grades, one, 2, and 3. 3 is where, yeah, you are getting into quite vertical. Like if you slip, you're going to fall to potentially quite far terrain. Grade 1 is crib goch, so it's using your hands. There might be some risk of exposure, but yeah, it's generally as long as you take it slowly, you're not going to risk slipping and falling too far.
I didn't realize it went the other way. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
So you see some videos and it's like I saw like grade 3, grade 2, and I was just like,
right. Yeah, I
well,
believe
the videos these days as well, especially on sort of Instagram, when they've got those sort of Insta 360, they make it look so much worse as well. It's like, oh, this is grade 1. Oh my Lord, not doing that. But actually, it's fine in real life.
Yeah, I mean, there are some, again, there's grade 1, apparently Tryfan Northridge is grade 1 as well, but it feels very different going up that to over Crib Goch. Like, if you've not got a head for heights, even that you can see the drop in your peripheral vision, it can be a bit unnerving as well. But yeah, some people refer to grade 0.5 as well for stuff like Llywith, which is on the other side of the Snowdon Horseshoe, and that's using your hands a little bit, but yeah.
Do you think that's a barrier? People just not knowing, it sounding scary and thinking,
Yeah, skyrunning as a whole is something we've tried to think a lot on over the past couple of years. Like people hear it and think, "What's that? Something to do with Sky Wars or Star Wars or something?" Or it's a little bit obscure. It's very popular in Europe. I mean, that's where it originated from. And I think when people think of that, they've maybe seen the Skyline Scotland stuff where that's always been sold as like the death race or however they coined it in the first year. So I think, yeah, if you're a trail runner living somewhere where most of what you do is running on forest trails or maybe the odd excursion to Lake District, you might think, oh, that's not for me. That's fine. On the flip side, if we're trying to tread a fine line between offering races that are a mix of difficulty. So, for example, Charlie's got the Pinnacle Ridge Extreme, which has got grade 3 scrambles in it still. He puts fixed ropes up there. So, you know, if you're maybe from a climbing background and you really want to challenge yourself, you can do that. Similarly, at the same day, he's got the St. Sunday Mountain Race, which is pitched as more of an entry level. I don't think there's any graded scrambling on that route. And then similarly, on the same day, he's got the Helvellyn Sky Ultra, which goes over Swirral Edge and Striding Edge. So those are, I think, grade 1, somewhere in the middle. So there's something for everyone, really. But we're not selling ourselves as a trail running series. It's its own discipline, governed by a completely different body with their own rules and stuff. So, you know, it's its own discipline. But yeah, if you maybe don't feel like you're up for grade 1 scrambling, come along and check out one of the other races that's on offer. The under 23 series, that's comprised more of the races that are a bit more accessible, around the 20 to 30k mark. Generally no graded scrambling in those races either, but technical trail running, so you can come and see, okay, well, that's the level one, you know, maybe
Mm.
I'll step up to a sky race next time or next year.
And that's absolutely the approach you should take with most things, really, isn't it? Just like ease your way into it. Don't go straight for the big race, which is normally what I try and do anyway. But it's runners aren't very patient, I suppose. Well, I'm not patient. And I know a lot of other people who sort of up the distance in big chunks because it's the next thing to do. And maybe people might do that with sky running as well. I know I've definitely looked at sky runner and like skyline anything and been like, oh, that probably means it's pretty hard. Maybe that's too hard for me. So I can
Yeah,
understand.
it does come with the name. Like, yeah, when you hear sky, what's that? And you know, you are gonna be up in the mountains. Yeah,
And ridge.
yeah, and ridges. But having said that, you know, I think there is an appetite for people who want that UTS 50K and the early days of the UTS 50 miler. That was like that went over some scrambly terrain, and people still enjoyed it. So yeah,
Yeah, I was quite taken aback by the terrain on the 100. Um, Again, I can't pronounce where I was, but
no,
at one point I was climbing up under a woman thinking, is this right?
yeah, yeah.
Uh, um, but I mean, it's nice, I think, that there are some yeah, some more races that are encouraging people to give it a go. I think it's sort of good on one hand that perhaps I think, you know, in the old days it was a bit more you needed experience of X, Y, and Z to enter. But actually so races like Skyfell, which I entered and did a few years ago, it was really nice because it said you don't need to have done some climbing or whatever. And it was a complete eye opener for me personally. That was it. I was sold to the mountains forever. Um,
Yeah, and there's
I
very
think it's
few
nice.
races that it's part of being a sky running race that we have to offer a marked course as well. So while there are some technical fell races around, very few of those I think go over those, you know, more technical ridges and are marked as well. So it's
Yeah.
quite a unique selling point to the series.
That eases a lot of minds, doesn't it? That it's marked. It completely changes it from being navigation only. The general sort of amount of elevation you have to do for all of these races. Obviously, you're a coach. Would you expect people to be having polls for all of these sorts of things, or do you think you can get away with it?
It depends on the race specifics, actually. Just speaking from an athlete's perspective, using poles, we don't allow poles on like Cribcock and Trif on Northridge. It's part of the rules that you have to stash them because you're going to be using your hands.
Mm.
Just depends if they're going to be more of a hindrance than a help, really. I think, to be honest, most of the races, if I was just going to be taking it easy and just wanted to finish, then maybe I'd take poles. But
Mm.
on some of the most of the ultras, the terrain's just a bit too technical for them to be that effective.
You need a pass for poles.
Yeah.
When I did the UTS 100K, everyone was looking at me like I was crazy that I didn't have poles. Like so many people, like, where are your poles? You just what? How are you managing? Like,
Yeah, that'll be a tough day out, I think.
yeah, yeah. I do often wonder how much would I have done better if I had
You
them,
did it.
or yeah, I did it anyway. Yeah.
I think that's it's probably more down to helping yourself in terms of yeah, fatigue. But I mean, if you're strong, if you've got a
Mm.
strong core and a strong everywhere, I would say you wouldn't need poles actually.
Yeah, a lot
Oh,
of it's down to technique. To learn to use poles well, does take a bit of learning, and your posture's all very different. And you might find that I prefer to run with a shorter cadence. You know, up steeper stuff. Me personally, I prefer poles because yeah, I prefer to walk rather than run at the same speed. So yeah, there's lots of personal factors. It's yeah, totally specific to the individual as well as the terrain.
fair enough. I was stalking your website where you've got an incredible list of achievements that as you mentioned, like very competitive between 2013 to 2017, but then it stops.
Yeah.
Was it, what Did you sort of take a break from running then, or have you just not updated the website?
No, so my last sort of proper season of racing was 2018. And I was training for UTMB that year, and I went all in on that summer. I did UTS for the first time,
Mm.
and then I moved out to Chamonix for August, and I was in phenomenal shape. And yeah, the race just went a bit pear-shaped, and I DNF'd halfway. And I just remember on the drive back to Chamonix thinking, don't know if I want to like invest this much time and effort and energy into something for it to just go flop like that. And that was the start of me focusing on the event side of things, really. I did race a bit throughout 2019. I DNF'd at Lakeland 100. Just mentally, my head wasn't in the game. And then,
You've won
yeah,
it twice. It doesn't matter.
I had done at that point, and it was just, yeah, I felt like I needed a break from that event in particular. And yeah, then COVID came along, and there was no races for me to do anyway. So yeah, and then yeah, working for UTMB, that was full time for 2 years, and then I was trying to do other stuff, my other events. So I'm kind of done what I wanted to do race wise. I'm entered for Lakeland 100 this year, and just want to finish and enjoy it, and do these events for very different reasons now.
You did 13 Valleys, didn't you? And then I see you at 13
I
Valleys.
just did the little one. I think it's the
Yeah.
Two Valleys. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
just bits and bobs. As I did quite a few races last year. Did the Highland Fling, Edale Skyline, Lakeland 100. Had an okay run there because I did a bit of crash training for that, and then feel like I did it. Well, I did my first Centurion running event in November last year. So
Oh, is that Wendover Woods? And
yes, yeah, just doing it to enjoy it.
Very popular, that one. Always
what's
see
that
it.
hill? They moan about that hill so much, don't they? And
There's a couple of real steep pitches in that. I was surprised how much elevations in that 10-mile loop. Yeah, my quads were not happy for a good few days after that.
We were both doing Edale Skyline last year. That's funny, isn't it?
How cool. Yeah, I do like that. It's a nice season opener. It's like got a good mix of terrain. It's quite fast and runnable. So yeah.
Yeah, I found it very, very difficult, but that's my own fault for not fueling properly. But otherwise, it went really well.
Cool.
can I ask about the sort of Skyrunning UK? I mean, how much does it interact with Skyrunning in Europe, or the sort of global one? I mean, are you part of it, and do they recognise Skyrunning UK, and do athletes come over to be part of the UK events?
Yeah, good question. So Skyrunning UK, we're a member of the International Skyrunning Federation. So as a member, we get to send teams to their championships event. So that's this year's the Youth World Championships, the Masters World Championships European. And then we have the rights to manage the Skyrunner National Series, so the Skyrunner UK and Ireland Series. I can talk about that in a little bit. There's a couple of frequently asked questions about that and how that works and what's changed since I've sort of taken over management of that. But and then separately, there's the Skyrunner World Series. So the Mourne Skyline, I've joined that for this year, and I've seen the elite's interest in that's really strong. A lot of really good Spanish runners are going to come over for that. So yeah, we have a good relationship with the ISF, who are headquartered in Italy. They're basically the founders of the discipline. And yeah, it's good. It's good to be on their radar and have bridged that gap. It's obviously a discipline that's hugely popular in Spain and Italy. And yeah, we want to show them that there's an appetite for it here, and people want to go and do the classics like Kima, some of the other big sky running events. Yeah.
you get a lot of people coming over from Europe for these races, or is that just
Not massively so, just because it's a question of marketing, really. Like the national series races, they don't attract the same, they don't create the same sort of interest as the World Series kind of stuff. Funnily, we do get quite a lot of Dutch people coming over, and from Belgium and the Netherlands and stuff. I think they love an excuse to come to Snowdonia in particular. I know Skyline Scotland attracted hugely international audience base of runners, thanks to being part of the Golden Trail World Series and stuff, and you've got Killian and Emily in the heyday coming over, it's all of a sudden, it's going to attract a lot of interest. And I mean, that was the Skyrunning World Championships one year, so that had many years of building that momentum up to that audience, whereas the Snowdon Sky Race, it was part of the World Series in 2021, but with all the COVID restrictions, a lot of the athletes that wanted to come just couldn't. So yeah.
But presumably that's a goal of yours is to get back up there and get the UK events and the Irish events.
So that's with the Morn Skyline, definitely. The target's to grow that event with the Skyrunner World Series. Who knows, perhaps there's scope for a second Skyrunner World Series event in the UK. Just depends on their dates as well, because they have a very packed calendar now. I think it's 20 races or more.
Do they pick those fresh each year, or is it now that Morn is in there, it's fixed?
It's not. There's no like long-term contract or anything. Some races come and go each year. Some have been part of the series for a long time, and they've built up a good two-way relationship. No one knows until things are confirmed.
What's the criteria that makes it part of the World Series?
You have to be an official sky race for a start, so you have to get the certified course label. There's an application process to go through with the ISF and a small fee, and that's just to make sure it hits the elevation gain per kilometre criteria, this, that, and the other. Beyond that, I guess they're looking for host venue capacity, events that can grow. Race locations that are in emblematic areas with nice scenery that embody what skyrunning's about. But beyond that, not too much criteria, less so than what it was with the Ultra Trail World Tour, really.
Is it Morn that's in Northern Ireland?
Yeah.
Is there a European thing happening there as well? Is it? No, it can't be.
With what, sorry?
Well, I'm just thinking of it, being in Europe, so to speak, part of the EU.
I don't know if Northern Ireland is. Not really.
No.
It was just, when I got in touch with the old organisers, the October date, it lands well with the Skyrunner World Series. So, yeah.
No, I'm just, with all the geopolitics going on at the moment, I just wondered if that was part of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be honest, like if I wanted to grow an event, I would, I'd love it if the Skyrunner Erie or one of Charlie's events was in the World Series, because it's easier to get more runners there within, just a short drive away. The Morns is difficult for people on the mainland to get over to. It's not awful, actually. It's a short plane flight or the ferry. But yeah, it's tapping into the Irish market that's the key in the next year or so, really.
Yeah, but for you and Charlie, it's a flight from Manchester, and it's quite easy, isn't it?
Yeah, all right. Last year I went over for a few days recceing the routes and stuff. In April, I got the ferry over from Holyhead to Dublin and then just drove up. So it's half a day's travel, more or less, from the northwest.
Interesting.
I was just looking at the size of the mountains there. Yeah, it is a pretty decent range, isn't it?
I really, really recommend it. Like I first went there in 2016 when I was racing in the series myself, and it was the the last one of this season. That was 2016, and I was just like, wow, this is amazing. It's like the Peak District on steroids, but with all these nice little reservoirs. And the Mourne Wall, when you see that, this massive wall, which is the watershed boundary of one of the reservoirs, I believe. Yeah, it's cool. It's a good place to go for sure. And the town of Newcastle on the coast, not Newcastle in the northeast of the UK, but that's really well set up for tourism as well. You go there and there's loads of restaurants, loads of places to stay, and you look up at the hills, and yeah, it's a really nice, really good. It ticks a lot of boxes for hosting an event like this.
Okay.
Yeah,
And are they generally sort of friendly towards events?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I mean, I've yeah had some trouble trying to get local community buy-in for events in Iriri before, but there, yeah, everyone's a bit more chilled out, I think, and a bit more like happy that you're there, basically. So that's been good. I think the time of year is good in October for
Mm.
getting people to support it, because we're hopefully bringing 600 runners into the local economy this autumn. So yeah.
Awesome.
yeah, October feels good for maybe not too much competition around that time.
For events, no, not as much. September, there's loads. I think a lot of people want to get a race in that month after in the weather window. You know, it's after the school holidays, but before the bad weather sets in. But October, you can still get lucky.
Yeah, global warming. I mean,
Yeah.
It's 2 days before my birthday. That's nice,
All
isn't it?
right.
Maybe
birthday
that's my excuse.
treats,
Yeah.
birthday weekend away.
Might have to look at that.
Robin reports from Northern
Yes. Oh, I
Ireland.
like it. It's got a good ring to it already.
Yeah, I like it. It gets my vote.
You do some other races as well. The Slate Trail one, I know that got cancelled last year, didn't
Yeah,
it?
it's had a rocky time. Yeah, we've pushed that back to November this year. We're going to try and give it another go. I think it's got a lot of potential. It's just we need to host it once and show it off to the world. And yeah, we were talking about break-even figures before. It's yeah, because it's longer. The amount of entries we need is a little bit higher. So it just seems a little bit of a risky proposition, but yeah, we'll wait and see.
Yeah, it's 90 miles, isn't it? Yeah, that can't be very easy to organize.
No, no.
Is it a linear route or is it a loop?
It's a loop. It starts in Bangor on the north coast, and then it picks up the Snowdonia Slate Trail,
Hmm.
created only a few years ago by someone local to the area who now lives up in Scotland. And then it follows that waymarked trail all the way around mostly north to North Snowdonia. It goes as far south as Bana Fistiniog, and it's just like a grand tour of all the old slate quarries and mine works and stuff. It's a really interesting route, and you do get to discover some nice, quiet, hidden gems of the area. And then
There,
it weaves its way back up
there
to
are two routes, aren't there?
yeah. There's a 50 miler, a 55 miler as well. Ultra Tour of the Quarries UTQ, and I've added that just to again be like a stepping stone race, and that starts on Saturday as well. Yeah, I think with it being in November, that's a nice time of year for people who want to extend the season a little bit. The routes are quite low level as well. They don't really go up onto the mountain summits. So you can, the kind of bad weather proof race routes, really.
Yeah, interesting.
Very important.
Yeah, I think sort of autumn winter running. I mean, I like it. It just makes things. It just adds another element to the adventure, doesn't it? You're not quite sure what the weather's going to do.
Mm.
But yeah, I think that looks lovely. I love the colors and the branding. It looks really good.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it looks like such a great sort of innovative route, not going the usual places around Snowdonia. It's sort of it looks like it circumvents the outside of it. I don't know
In
Snowdonia.
places, yeah, it's mostly in Snowdonia. Yeah. I mean, it made my job a lot easier. I didn't have to design the routes or anything because someone else had already done it. So it's already like a national trail. But it was fun to put together like where the aid station is going to be and how's it going to, those kind of event side of things and finding the start and finish location.
Does that make it much easier permissions wise if it's already an established trail?
Basically, yeah, you don't have to worry about this trail that's not a public right of way and seeking out the right landowner in this, that, and the other. Because the route's already waymarked, we don't have to worry about putting our own waymarking materials out. So I think you even if it's a public right of way, if you're putting course markers up and stuff, you still need to get the landowner's permission. So that's not having that to deal with a bit of makes things a bit easier.
Yeah. I know for my local fell race, there's only two farmers that I have to contend with, and one of them I just wanted to go to the top of Whaley Moor, and they said no, and that's kind of the end of the conversation. It's such a shame.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like, I've been through similar stuff myself, and sometimes you just want to know why, or
Yeah. I mean, technically it's access land as well, so I didn't even really need to ask, but it wouldn't have gone down well if
you mean you could try just cracking on then in any case, or framing the question in such a way that you're just like, we are going to do this, so we're just kind of letting you know. If you've got any big objections, then let me know. But
you would have let me know. You also do a lot of coaching as well.
A little bit, yeah. Look after 10 runners at the moment.
Is that a nice number? It feels like a nice number.
Yeah. I've the max I've had is only maybe 14 or so, but 8 to 12, somewhere around that figure's good for me at the moment.
Can devote quite a lot more sort of personal support, I suppose, to 10 rather than some of these companies that will probably have hundreds and just without a plan.
Yeah. I mean, I have to update everyone's plan each month and have monthly video calls with most of my runners. So that just with studying full time and stuff, that's kind of the limit from my side of where I want to go. If all I did was coaching, I'd happily push on that and try and get to maybe 20 to 25. You can still manage that number quite well if you don't have other things competing for your time, or try and sell training plans a bit more on Training Peaks, that kind of thing. Those are things that I've just not focused in too much on yet. But
you do kind of have enough on your plate as it is.
A little bit. But I thought like to market my coaching services, like writing a quarterly or whatever, thing for someone like yourselves or whatever. Just to get the marketing, get the name out there, and writing articles is always a good way of doing that and answering those kind of frequently asked questions at different parts of the year. So like autumn could be an article about how to plan your year and working out what your motivations are, and then how to plan your winter training, and then moving through the cycle of the different training periods and that kind of thing.
With your sort of stellar career, I can't imagine you'd struggle to get people wanting to listen to your advice on racing. And especially, you could just put a big banner up over your races right at the start line, and then everyone will know.
Yeah, it's not bad. My background, like growing up, was mountain bike racing, so I was a real nerd with sports science, and I very nearly studied sports science at uni. It's always been something I'm interested in, training and how you can prepare well for races and stuff. But something I'd like to get round to is getting my UK athletic coaching qualification. So I've got that on the website. I'm not actually an official coach, whereas at the moment it's all learning and experience based knowledge. But it'd be nice to get that ticked off in the next year or so.
I've got like the very first stage of that ticked
Oh,
off,
cool.
just so that I could do my local run club.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not difficult.
Okay, cool.
But Kate, you've got your mountain leader thing. That looks pretty difficult to get. How long did that take?
Yeah. Um, well, it's 2 weeks. Well, it's 1 week official training and then 1 week on assessment. But you've got to have you've got to have logged a lot of time in the mountains to
Mm.
to get to either of those stages. I mean, I'm lucky again through running. I had a lot of mountain time logged already, so I was able to jump quite relatively quickly from training to the assessment. Um,
Almost sounds like cheating.
well, yeah, I guess so. But well, no, I mean it's experience. It's sort of yeah, it's having that experience in the mountains. Um, and yeah, it's definitely something that I'm keen, there's a big crossover, I think. And I'm in sort of quite a unique position being a sort of retired ultra runner, but now mountain leader. I think there's a lot that runners, can be taught and can be helped with. Whether it's something like sky running or any of the sort of Lake District or Iriri races, that are technical. You need to know where you are. You don't. It's not always a question of being able to follow the person. Obviously, the sky races are great because you do. I'll never forget following the flags and just thinking this is amazing. I was literally fixated from one flag to the next, which I think is
Yeah,
great.
it's
But
interesting. I think about it all the time about I get a lot of flack online from various people about marking the courses and stuff. And, there's obviously a very British sentiment that if you go outdoors, you shouldn't need all that. You should be navigating and stuff. And like I mentioned, I grew up mountain biking. So I've been able to read a map since I was a kid, really. And
mm,
my mum, bless her, she let me like go mountain biking up in the mountains when I was like 12. And was always like worried where I was and stuff long before I had a mobile phone or anything. And so yeah, I've always known how to have a map as a backup, and I can use a compass if needs be. But yeah, putting myself in the shoes of someone who just doesn't have any of that experience and is literally just looking out for the next course marker
mm.
can be a little bit puts you on edge a little bit as a race
I
organizer.
honestly think there's room for both. I really do. I mean,
Mm.
it is such a divisive topic. But I think there's, that there are races out there where you can, challenge yourself, challenge your navigation, be a bit more, self-sufficient. And then there's races where, yeah, where it's about running fast or, and if you take out that navigation element, um, I think I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking, literally speaking out loud as I think, but I mean, I don't know if you feel you have to offer more mountain safety in those scenarios because people are less likely to know what they're doing. I don't know.
Yeah, the risk assessment stuff's always challenging. Like you can put people in the more technical, dangerous areas, but then someone will slip and fall on a really easy, runnable section of trail and bang their head and knock themselves out, which we've had before. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
it's
think
always the pavement we trip up on, isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah, but
it is.
the first, I think the first 2 years of UTS and the first Snowdon Skyline, I was vetting entries. I was looking through everyone's entry for experience and stuff, and there just didn't seem to be that much correlation between incident and experience and that kind of thing. So I thought, well, I might be like turning away a lot of entries here. Why don't I open it to anyone, put the onus on them to make sure that they feel that they've got the experience and are ready to take on
Mm,
the race route, and then yeah, put a bit more investment into the mountain safety presence along the route. But yeah, I think if you maybe are a little bit unsure, booking a one-to-one or a small group guided day with yourself just to get your head around the basics of
mm, mm.
how to read a map and stuff might save you come race day, pinging the SOS tracker when you're just a little bit lost.
It's probably almost more worthwhile if you want to be competitive, because then you're not having to think about where you are, or, you know,
I've
when do
always
I put my waterproof on, or whatever it is.
I've never really done orienteering myself, but I've always admired people who do that ability to like race hard and
Mm,
read a map at the same time and navigate and work out the fastest line to take on the fly as they go in.
mm.
Yeah, obviously, if the course is marked, you've got to stick to the marked course, really. But yeah, as soon as you start straying from well-established trails, as you do in skyrunning races and races like UCS, the more it pays off in the long run to have a little bit of navigational
Mm.
experience. Yeah.
I think it gives you the confidence, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, to know, it's nice knowing where you are.
Yeah, yeah,
It's simple things.
yeah,
There's some really good you've probably seen them, people doing the local city town based orienteering challenges.
yeah,
It
yeah.
pops up on
Mm.
Strava all the time.
Mm.
I'd really admire people's ability to look at a map and know themselves so deeply that I can reach all of those within the time limit, and this is the route I'll take. Go.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just off they run.
Yeah, I want to tick it off my bucket list, actually. My friend Tom, who's really top cyclist and coach. We've been on about doing a mountain marathon together for a couple of years now, so maybe we'll finally get
Mm.
that ticked off. Because does I'm just really intrigued. You cross the start line, you get given this map, and then it's like you got to do it.
It is
Then
fun.
when you
I
don't know
think
what
they're
you're
great
going
fun.
into. Yeah, yeah. I'm a
Yeah,
bit. I
yeah.
should have done it by now, but yeah,
Always clashes with something. I'm gonna make sure I do a couple just to experience it. But I get really nervous. I'm like, I'm not. What if I time out? It doesn't matter really, does it? It's
Mhm.
go out and have fun and blast around a little town through all these little cut throughs. And I imagine all the local public are just thinking, what on earth is going on? There's all these torches everywhere. People running as fast as they can.
Yeah, it's funny. And then going out like rats or spiders, all just going,
Yeah.
whoa,
Yeah.
all
Yeah, it
different
must be really
directions.
funny at the start.
I'd like, I mean, we're running out of time, but I'd just like to ask one more question going back to the sky running.
Yeah.
Where did the ultras come
Yeah,
into it?
so yeah,
When did
just to
that start?
introduce the Sky Ultra series, that was so I mentioned I took over the reins of Sky Running last year, and the first thing I thought was, well, how can we make the series more? How can we add to it? And we pieced together an idea that we could have like a series within the overall series, which is just the ultras basically. So it's the Sky Ultra series. So this year it starts with Charlie's brand new this year, Scarfell Sky Ultra,
Mm.
and then it's the 14 Peaks Ultra, the Helvellyn Sky Ultra, and then over to the Seven Sisters Skyline, and then back to the Morn Sky Ultra, which was the first year last year. And yeah, we've just identified that within the Sky Mountain ultra running community, whatever you want to call it, there's just a big appetite for people who want to do an ultra distance up in the mountains. That's a big reason that led to UTS's success, I think. So we wanted to tap into that market and bring those people over into Skyrunning. Helps the events financially if they can grow. If we can add 100 more ultra runners to an event, then that's great. So yeah, we've got this series within a series, really, with its own ranking. And I think from memory, it's your best three or possibly two races count towards that. It might be three now that we've got the new Scarfell Sky Ultra. So yeah, it's quite unique in that we have this series in skyrunning. Like I was trying to think the other day, I can't think of many national level, like you have in fell running, you have the English champs and the British champs, but in trail, we want it's going to take a little bit of time for people to sort of feel invested in a series. But the idea is, someone enters one of these races, and we've seen that not many people are doing the series yet. They may be doing one race because it's a nice location or whatever, but we want to try and retain those people and incentivize them to come back and do two or three.
Mm. Mm.
So yeah, we want those ultra people who are signing up to do the Sky Ultras to think, wow, that was really cool. Oh, I've got a series ranking here now. This is where I am against that person, and maybe I'll consider doing a second or a third or whatever. You know, and they can pencil those in, you know, well in advance and for the next year.
Mm. I suppose because they're organised by different people, you can't have a sort of single entry system for a series, can you?
No, we've talked about that amongst ourselves, but yeah, just with everything being so separate,
Mm.
yeah, we have to keep that kind of separate as well. I think what I'd like to try and do this year is market things from an email database a bit more centrally to people. So if they want to opt in, and the race organisers can share that database with me, and then I can promote the series to everyone from an email level rather than just on Facebook and Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Just seeing it all listed out, it looks like it's all, I mean, I've never seen it before, but it looks like it belongs really well. Like you've looked, stepped back and noticed, like, hang on, we can add a whole bunch of races here.
Yeah, yeah.
We're really going to enjoy.
Yeah, the way the series worked before was you were only allowed one race on the same day to be part of the series. And yeah, I hummed and hawed about this, and I spoke to Charlie and Yoon and the other race directors. Were like, I've got this idea to have other series. So we've got the Sky Ultra series and also the Under 23 series. You know, what do you think of these ideas? And they were really on board with it. They wanted more of their races on the same day to be part of something. We're happy to pay to be part of that. On the flip side, it does mean that you might get people racing different races on the same day, and I had some feedback from the elite runners last year about one or two mentioned that they'd rather it was just the one race still, because then you know everyone who you're racing against for series points is going to be doing that same race. And I get that, that's fair and justified. That's how it works at the World Series level. But we have to make it work financially as well, and get other people on board.
Yeah.
So yeah, the decision that you can do either an ultra or you can do any of the races basically, and count towards your points. Yeah.
And it must make sense for people to be able to make a weekend of it, and bring family along, or you know, bring some mates along. Oh well, you know, I want to do the ultra, but you know,
Yeah, yeah,
he's going to do the shorter one, or my
yeah.
friend's going to come and do, you know, something a bit different.
Mhm.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. But
Yeah, I mean, going back to before COVID at a World Series level, I think there was three rankings as well. I'm pretty sure they had at the World Series level. I mean, I think they had a separate ultra category, and then the extreme category, which was for the super technical stuff, and then the sky race category. So yeah, I quite like that. You know, it feels like if you're doing an ultra that isn't part of the overall series, you might feel like you're just doing a sort of sideshow event where we want to celebrate all those three categories. You know, so typically, yeah, the sky race one's the middle distance, a bit technical, and then we've got the ultra, and then something that's a bit more entry level that we've branded as the under 23 series, because we give runners under 23 a 50% discount to those races as well. So yeah.
oh, that's good. Oh, brilliant. Robin, any last questions?
He's just kind of answered my last question. I really like that there's part of an Irish Championships series
Yeah.
as well. I imagine that really bumps up the numbers, like the
Yeah,
English.
I can't take any credit for that. That was Yoon and Quinn's idea. I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, but when I said I want to bring the Morn Skyline event back, and it's only 3 weeks after your Seven Sisters event, how do you feel about that? Because they're quite close geographically. It was a bit like, ooh. And then he came up with this idea: why don't we, collaborate? And yeah, so it's your best result. You have to do both, and it's the 30K event at his race, not the Skyline, and the 35K race at my race. So we purposely settled on those two
That's a good
short
idea.
so that you can do them back to back over 3 weeks. Really, we didn't want to force people to maul themselves over his 4,000 meter elevation gain, and then So yeah, it's a nice little extra series within a series, and I got to admit, I thought, oh, this probably isn't going to get much notice, but after the after his Seven Sisters one, yeah, I started getting emails from people from Ireland. Oh, what's this about? You know, how do I qualify? And then after the Mourns event, you know, I had quite a few emails from people. "Oh, when are you going to update the?" I didn't get the rankings updated straight away because I had too much else going on. I was surprised. So yeah, there's definitely. You know, it's definitely been well received by the Irish and Northern Irish community. So that's really cool. Next year we're going to extend. Last year we just had points for the top 20 in all the different categories: the Sky Ultra, the overall, the under 23, and the Irish champs. But we're going to extend that to like the top 300 now, so that everyone will get some points of some sort, just to give people like their spot on the leaderboard and
Good idea.
make it a bit less, you know, perceived as being elitist or whatever.
You got me tempted now. Maybe
Yeah,
my
yeah.
comeback in
Yeah,
2026.
it's quite appealing, like the idea of being part of a series and getting that visibility on a leaderboard kind of thing. It really, you know, feeds.
Yeah, and it helps motivate you and keep you going and training and gives you
Yeah,
something to work for. Yeah, I think
yeah,
it's great.
It doesn't matter on the position. Like
No,
I remember looking at cross country results, and I was like, if I can get into the top 100, that would be amazing. Like,
yeah,
yeah, just give everyone a place and points. Yeah, that's good. Good idea.
well, it looks like there's some really exciting plans going there, and it looks really
yeah,
good. Wish you the very best, Mike.
yeah. Thanks. Yeah, it'd be great to see some Run Ultra listeners and
Yeah.
some of the ultras this year, and sure it's
Is
already on some radars.
is everything on your website, Apex Running, or is it
Best
separate?
place to look for my two events that I own that are part of the series. Yeah, apexrunning.co, just .co.
Yeah.
You'll see the Skyrun events. But if you want to learn more about Skyrunning and the series, visit skyrunning.uk.com. And yeah, we're active on social media as well.
I'll add those links in the podcast as well. So
Cool.
good. Thank you so much, Mike.
Yeah, Brill, thanks very much for having me.
Take
And
care.
yeah, see you soon.